Hey guys, I know in the last episode I said Anor Londo's lore was pretty cut and dry, and I stand by that. I feel like it's pretty easy to see what's happening here. But I couldn't just skip it. We really haven't had a chance to talk about Aldrich. In the cathedral, we talked a lot about the cathedral, and we talked a lot about Rosaria, and we talked a lot about the deacons, and we talked a lot about the Way of the White. But we never really had a chance to talk about Aldrich, who's obviously a very important character, as he's a fucking Lord of Cinder. He's linked to the fire. Not of virtue, but of might, is what Hawkwood tells us, which basically implies that this fat cleric motherfucker was eaten. Well, let's wait for this Dark Moon to show up before we. Thank you. Uh, basically, he just was a fucking or a glutton. Sorry, mixed fucking and woo-hoo-hoo. Okay, let's get away from this because this is just gonna turn into Fireball Fest '98. Oh, he was going for a jump attack. Oh shit! My whole life just worked out. Um, he was a fucking glutton and cannibal, and he was eating people. And until it got to the point where it transformed him, he changed into the black sludge that we see crawl from the grave at the beginning on the opening cutscene. Um, I know most of you guys that leave comments are obviously pretty up on the lore, so just if I say something that's like an obvious sort of thing, it's just for the benefit of the people maybe who aren't as caught up on the lore. Get some R1s. Get an R2. I got some for you too. What I'm getting at is when we fight Aldrich, the anglerfish looking thing that is hanging out of him is Gwendolyn, which is Lord Gwyn's youngest child, who apparently had taken over Anor Londo. Now we see bones sticking out like human bones, which some people I think kind of associate maybe that Aldrich also ate Nito, but there's nothing in the game to imply that. I know the sword he wields looks like the Gravelord sword, but I feel like it would be less of a stretch to say that Aldrich in life was a Gravelord servant. I feel like it's less of a stretch to say that than it is to say he also ate Nito, because there's literally nothing tying. There's no lore, there's no words. Never is there dialogue. Never is there an item description that even mentions Nito. Also, Nito had to have been killed by Chosen Undead. So, I think the bones are basically just his victims hanging out of him. We see human remains in all of the sludge that we associate with Aldrich. Even these guys here, we see bones sticking out of them. So, as far as the area itself, it seems pretty simple. I always, whenever I'm recording, I always forget the name of the spider dog things. The one that hangs up above the door there. I think it's basically just a guard dog, basically just to make sure that nothing interrupts Aldrich's dinner. Now, what's curious about that is those things come from the deep. The weird spider dogs that give us curse, they're from the deep. So the link is there. Like, there's a physical way to get in and out. We see this also with the dancer, and to a lesser extent Vort, but we'll go over to that. We'll go over the dancer very soon, so we'll save that for then. But there does appear to be some kind of enter-exit sort of system for the deep, because that beast is from the deep. So now you could assume, and I don't think you'd be wrong to, that maybe just the it's not smart to use the obscuring ring and the great bow if your opponent knows where to look for you. You know what I mean? I know where you're going to be at. This is a narrow, straight shot. You can say maybe Aldrich tamed the beast, or something like that. But wouldn't it be more interesting to think, perhaps, that the beast wants Aldrich to finish the job? It wants him to bring about the Age of the Deep. Those are curious fucking monsters, by the way. They've got skulls all over them. They sort of look like they're covered in messengers from Bloodborne. Oh, he got me. So, this level's kind of a pain in the ass to invade in because it's so short, and if they've unlocked the shortcut, it's literally just a straight shot to the boss. You can avoid all the enemies. You can run through everything. you don't have a lot of like powerful backup. The Silver Knights, there's two of them, and then there's a third one that no host in his right mind would follow you towards because it's a red-eyed Silver Knight, and that thing will just stomp your ass in. Especially, I'm level 120, so most of these people are in New Game Plus at the very least. And that guy's no joke on New Game Plus. On New Game Plus Plus, it's woo. But the Deacons are also here. I think maybe they've escorted the sludge that was Aldrich. What's curious is how does a fucking living sludge, like, does it have sentience? Is it is it conscious? Is it aware of what the fuck it's even doing? And is it just stuff in its face because that's what it wants? The soul would imply the former because he as sludge he basically became determined that he would eat these people, the gods, and bring about the Age of the Deep himself. Yeah, there's other connections to cannibalism in Dark Souls as well. In Dark Souls 1, we learned that Smo, the Executioner, was a cannibal. Oh, that poke missed. If people roll around you and you catch them with an R1 and they're not rolling away from you, if they roll away, you can still get them with the R2. But if you charge that R2 while they're rolling around you, you can let go of it when you get a feel for the timing on roll catches, and that R2 is just it's just a nasty roll catch. And if it stuns them out of the roll, that's another free R1 into another R2. It's a self-perpetuating knife fuck. Yeah, Aldrich hangs out here, and figured this would be a good time to talk about a good old Aldrich. Really, the second DLC, man, I'm so later blue. I'm so hesitant to even guess what it's going to be about. Because we could still, we could still meet the third Sable Church sister. We could go to Londor with the final dialogue. GG. With the final dialogue of the DLC being the Dark Soul of Man, feels like Londor is imminent. But I really want to see some more shit about the Deep. I don't know about y'all, but that's interesting as fuck to me anyway. The statues here of the Silver Knights, I actually just noticed. I'm going to keep this bit short in Anor Londo, so I'm not going to walk around and look at statues and stuff, but you'll just have to take my word for it, or go look for yourself. I don't give a shit. Alright, so someone had mentioned, I think it was XYZ Solutions is his name on Reddit. He was talking about how the statues of the adolescent boys that we find in Irithyll that are holding the sword, he said he thought that they were maybe like squires, statues of Silver Knights as squires, in training. And I agreed with that. I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. But then on the last episode, when I was chasing that guy through the Dark Moon Tomb, I looked at the statues of the Silver Knights in the Dark Moon Tomb, and all those Silver Knights have their swords upright. They're held upright. And I was like, well, I mean, that doesn't disprove it, but, it does cast the shadow of a doubt, I guess. Then I came here, and all of the Silver Knight statues, they're in the same exact pose. God damn, get crushed. They're in the same exact pose as the statue of the adolescent squire. So, I feel like, who just got backstabbed and why? Okay, wasn't me, so we're good. Look at the one that's close to you. Thank you. That should be like a thing. The game should just know to look at the person that's closest to you when you go to auto target. So yeah, definitely feel like the statues in Irithyll of the youngster. If you don't know which one I'm talking about, it's the statue that you find the pilgrim chameleoned into. It's all in the Church of Yorshka. There's a bunch of them. But yeah, and I think that if there's any implication to be taken from that, I think it's that Irithyll was formerly Anor Londo. In the first Irithyll episode, I asked whether or not Irithyll was the the ground level of Anor Londo that we never visited in Dark Souls 1, or if it was, more land fuckery from the transitory lands. But now I'm definitely leaning towards that's Anor Londo, and it's always been Anor Londo because those Silver Knight statues that works very well. But like I said, you don't necessarily have to take that from those statues. That is me reading a lot into it, and I understand if you're like, that's way too much to go on two fucking statues. So he's got the Cestus, he's ready to parry. This guy's using Shield of Want, so he can't parry, so I'm fine going in R1 heavy on him. I went for the guard break weapon art, but I'm out of FP, so it didn't actually break the stability on his shield. Read that parry, just start backstab fishing when you see that shit. Got him with a roll catch, but Tears procced and saved him. And that's the host, so he'll probably be able to cast Tears again. Yeah, I think he just did. You're not casting it for free. You can cast it, but you're not casting it for free. Alright. Now this is a little... Oh, damn it, are you kidding me? There he is. That is a bad motherfucker right there. Yeah, you better run. Oh. Let's see. If I could get him to look at... If I could get the Silver Knight on the Great Shield, I could take the host and we'd be done here. I gotta get him... He's gotta leave the Silver Knight alone because I need him alive. And him hitting him with spells is cheesing him in a way I can't let him die that easily. It's gotta be... I've gotta make it a task for them to kill this knight. There we go. Now it's over. The host is shook. Oh, damn it, are you kidding me? He's still shook, though. He's just a shook one. I'm going to get you now. I think he's out of Estus. Yeah, he's got to be. Oh, why did I do that jump attack? Didn't mean to do that. Here we find the corpse of Giant Bro. Sad as fuck. I think that actually hurt me more than anything when I first played this game. Andre tells us that he knows him, which I think goes to support Ian B's theory that that Andre was actually the blacksmith of the gods talked about in the Dark Souls 1 lore. We can get into that later. For now, let's just leave Anor Londo. Alright, hello everybody, and welcome back to Stream of Consciousness Invasions. We are continuing our lore invasions. We are in the Irithyll dungeon, and today we are disguised as a jailer. I didn't say we were playing a jailer. I said we were disguised as a jailer. I worked really fucking hard on this episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. I didn't even think about like what items to get or use. I just had this idea that I had to make, and I loved it, and I hope you guys like it too. We'll still be going over the lore and everything, but yeah, we're playing a disguised jailer. And I totally forgot to take off the goddamn Dark Moon. Oh my god. Okay, let's be a Blade of the Dark Moon, chase down an invader, as a fucking Irithyll jailer. This will go over well. This weapon does shit for damage, but if you guys thought for 1 minute that I was going to play as not a jailer, well, you wouldn't be wrong, but you also wouldn't be right. I stand by my fucking no such thing as viable in invasions. You just have to play smarter than the person you're fighting. The host was content to let me do this fight by myself, but now they want to join. This weapon, by the way, is a spear, if you were wondering. You can see I've got the Leo ring on, but I'm not convinced it does any extra damage or anything. So, gank invaders, that's what you gotta do, guys. That's what this whole fucking series is about. Just gank to your little heart's content. Okay, now, let's do some actual invasions. So, Irithyll Dungeon, right? Right off the bat, I want you to disprove this theory to me. Make me not believe it, because right now I lean towards I believe it. Pontiff Sullivan was locked away here for blank reason, unknown reason, reason number X. God damn, this is gonna be fucking hard to kill people with this fucking weapon. No damage. None. 86. Are you kidding me? Alright, see, I'm gonna have to use... This is gonna be like actual invasions. If you ever wanted to see someone invade, this is it. This is like the exact opposite of try hard. Fuck. But this is gonna... Look, watch. We're getting out of here. We're rolling through. Do not get jump attacked, plunged attacked. Sorry. Iframes on the door. We're gonna abuse the fuck out of this. And then we're headed in here. Alright, and they're gonna deal with the maggot. Now, I can heal. I'm going to go ahead and heal twice. Now, I need to be careful about hitting people because the maggot can inflict bleed. Alright, so I'm going to let the Onion Knight deal with the maggot, and I'm going to hit the host. Now, he might have maggots on him already. He did. But, like, I'm going to try and avoid... I think the Onion Bro just took bleed damage. So, see, I'm kind of backing off. I'm letting him deal with this shit. Fuck, I accidentally hit the Onion Bro. So, I got rid of his bleed. Alright, so now I need to focus on him. This is just about playing smart. It's not... play well. You press the buttons you're supposed to press when you're supposed to press them, obviously. Counter things the way you always would. But, you have to play like an invader here, and this is what I'm talking about. Alright, so we've got this whole fucking room rattled up, and now they're gonna be quick to get out of it. So I'm not gonna let them. I'm coming back here. Alright, you guys just watch this shit. I'm doing invasion tech when I should be doing lore stuff. It'll be pretty self-explanatory. Just watch it. If there's something you see me do and you're like, oh, that's neat, you can draw attention to it in the comments, or you can just rewind the video and watch it again. But, so, what is the connection to the Irithyll Dungeon and the Undead Settlement? Because these are the only two places where we find these caged people. Now, the caged people here are wearing the robes that, if you read the item description, it says they used to be ceremonial. It also says that the jailers now work for Pontiff Sullivan. So, the theory that oh, he's dead. Oh, fuck. Fuck, targeting that thing. Target the Phantom and kill it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Somebody posted a theory that Pontiff Sullivan was imprisoned here and escaped. And this is where he found the flame, that the profaned flame that put the burning ambition inside of him. I think that's a great theory because it ties together. It puts Pontiff Sullivan in another area, and it gives him a reason for being there. Otherwise, why else would he have found this place? But who locked him away? Who put him in? There's a lot of stuff that, there's a lot of missing pieces to that theory, which is why I'm asking you guys to disprove it to me. Give me something else to go on. I would be interested in hearing other people's takes on stuff. So, I do want to talk about, though, that the Undead Settlement definitely has some kind of ties to this place, because we see... I'm just R1 spamming that motherfucker. It paid off. We find the caged people, but they seem to have been caging these women who are like almost... It's like some bizarre fucking cult. I'm gonna let these guys do as much damage as they can. I shouldn't have burned him there because I got the maggots written, but he got fucked up by it. You know what I mean? And I just kind of let the mobs do some damage for me. Now it's just a matter of chasing him down because I think he's out of Estus. But yeah, there's a connection to the caged people here and the caged people in the Undead Settlement. There absolutely has to be. It doesn't make, you know what I mean? There's no reason to use that exact same model enemy. You could just use something else. So, I spawned here, and I don't see them, but the jailers have already been activated. So, this is the correctional officer break room, by the way. This is where they all take their breaks. You can tell they're not on duty because they're not using their lanterns. But this does go back to the undead settlement. All the weapons they're using are weapons that the workers of the undead settlement use. Every one of them. The great machete, the all of it. The little weird knife thingies. Um, this poor bastard's about to get God. And the other thing that the undead settlement workers use, the hammer. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's some kind of connection to the undead settlement and to this dungeon. Don't ask me what the fuck it is, because I don't know. Um, oh, if you didn't know, no one ever checks over here, but this is Siegward's cell. If you're doing the quest, you can see him in that room right there. So this host is just he's not interested in fighting me. He's just content to run around with me. Um, I'm leading him somewhere to find something. Because my hollow jailer that I'm playing, my disguised hollow jailer, is something's ticking in their brain. What could it be? It's this way. I know it's this way. Down here in the correctional officer shift meeting. You're gonna need that alluring skull, buddy, because there's a lot of them. But there's a prisoner over here, and we need to open this cage. Why does my guy feel the need to open this cage? So, lore-wise, we find a crucified man in there. The lycanthropes, I believe, is what we decided they were called. What the fuck that represents? Why is he here? You know, if you open that cage, he'll come out and he'll attack the jailers for you, which is what I'm trying to show this host. But the host is obviously stressed out. He's got an invader in the world, and he's having to deal with the jailers. So I'm trying to show him if you use the alluring skull to get that guy out here, he'll just go ape shit on the jailers. The best method is to open the other cage across and get the shrieking item, which is another lore point I want to talk about. It's always been a theory, but basically this game confirms it as true. The hollows that we find that have items, they're not corpses. I mean, they're corpses because they're undead, but they're not sentient anymore. They're that far hollow. Like our poor jailer here, our disguised jailer. He needs help. He's got to find his purpose in life so that he can. Wait, what was that item you just picked up? That seems familiar. Who is this hollow jailer? And why does this all seem familiar? Is that what we're trying to do? Open this cage? To seek out the spurned? Are we just looking for help? I believe that is the case. So we find Carla down here, who is a fragment of Manus. She is our dark vendor. And Alva, Seeker of the Spurned, who invades you at the very beginning of Irithil dungeon, you can find his armor down here. Our host just picked it up. And these are hosts that would not help poor Alva, Seeker of the Spurned. He was disguised as a jailer because he was trying to get in that damn cell. But none of these people would help. And so they all got fucking murdered. But this host, he seems different. Plus, this lets us do something a little different besides just kill a host and record it. And that's always fun. Good job. So, we find Carla locked way down here, which makes sense. She describes herself to us as basically like a fucking abomination. She's, not... my theory on this whole place is the diversion from nature is what leads to all of this, everything. Diversion from nature is what starts everything in this game. Okay? And that's my take on it. Gwyn defied nature when he linked the flame. Here we see someone locked up because, she casts dark magic. But we also see we're here. We're at the Profaned Flame. It's right below us. I'm gonna run past this gargoyle so he knows I'm not gonna backstab him while he's fighting it. The Profaned Flame in Japanese is referred to as the sinful flame. Again, it seems to be a sort of, its whole basis, its whole premise is that it defied nature because it never goes out, which we know goes against the nature of fire in this game. The fire fades; it always does. So, to have created a flame that does not fade, instead leveled your entire fucking population, killed everybody basically. That's an interesting and strange concept. The Profaned Flame is one of the weirdest things in this game. I know this level feels like it's not been fleshed out, but I can't imagine they don't throw us a couple items in the DLC just to kind of touch on this a little bit. One thing that strikes me is somebody mentioned Yorm's lineage might come from Volnir, because we know Volnir was a conqueror, and I happened to mention in the Karthus episode that he's a fucking giant, which is crazy. But Yorm is also a giant, and Volnir was a conqueror, so I have a hard time believing that is an accident, or not an accident, a coincidence. To throw the word conqueror around twice there, that seems pretty intentional. They're both giants. Is the Profaned Capital a land that Volnir had taken over? If so, then perhaps the Profaned Flame, that would explain why Andre sees the abyss in it. Volnir found black flame. He found the black flame in the abyss. If the Profaned Flame has something to do with black flame, if it has something to do with darkness, and it can't be the black flame, because it's not a black flame, obviously. But also, another thing, this gets debated a lot. It doesn't get debated a lot, just you always see people making this argument, and I think it's an argument that needs to be made. The Profaned Flame did not start because Yorm linked the fire. The Profaned Flame went apeshit when Yorm linked the fire. It killed everybody. We find all their corpses scattered along the walls, along with all the treasures of this area. We find a shit ton of symbols of avarice in this area. We find... this dude better come on. All right, there he is. I was going to say, we are on a mission, and if you don't help Alva, Seeker of the Spurned, seek the Spurned, then Alva will turn on you. But the host he's playing along. So anyway, we find all these symbols of greed, the symbols of avarice. It tells us that it's a brand given to selfish and greedy people. We find all the rusted coins, and the rusted coins tell us over and over again that the rusted coin and the gold rusted coin, which can't actually be gold, that's the joke. They tell us that there was a man who was greedy and he lost his wealth, and he basically he got it back double, but then he was quick to bet it again because he knew he'd get it back double again. He'd quadruple it. Everything's lined with gold and treasure everywhere. So I really feel like this was a place that was obsessed with greed and wealth, and I think that's one of the reasons that we find so many symbols of avarice here. Is these people have been branded as greedy, and Yorm knew it. I don't think Yorm liked these people. They needed him, and he felt like he couldn't let them down. Yorm is a very sad fucking character in this game. To me, anyway. They call him Lonely Yorm, and it's like, the poor guy, man, because he's like the only giant that fucking lives here, and he's just basically a big dick swinging machete for these people. But yeah, if his father was Volnir, then his father would have subjugated these people, and they would have, they're looking to Yorm for help. Um, Hello. Now, the toxic pool we're in here, the hand creatures we find in this area, they're called monstrosities of sin. Again, sinful flame, monstrosities of sin. That gets into this whole thing about how these women who were all related to a certain oracle are what brought up their curse is what brought about the profaned flame, but they didn't give a shit about it. They lived their lives completely free of care. They didn't care at all about the profaned flame. They didn't care that everybody died or any of that shit. But the toxic, I think, is a metaphor. It's basically more of the hey, this is against nature. It's stagnant. It stops the flow. It stops the natural order. So it becomes toxic. It becomes this stagnant pool where the shit-eating mud bugs, all come from. Here we're looking at the last surviving court sorcerer. These guys claim to be descendants of Big Hat Logan, but that's disputed by the Crystal Sages, the Preacher Twins. They dispute that claim. They feel like they are the ones who follow in Big Hat Logan's footsteps, which they more seem to follow in Big Hat's footsteps after Big Hat lost his fucking mind in the Grand Archives, or in the Duke's Archives, I'm sorry. But you never get a close-up of this guy's face, so I figured we could use this moment to actually take a look at him. He does drop Logan's scroll, but keep in mind it's all spells that Logan had before he went to the Grand Archives and found Seath's magics, and in doing so lost his damn mind. Another thing that we find right below this guy is the spell Wrath of God, and I really feel like that's another kind of metaphor for what happened to the Profaned Capital. Basically, and he's off. Basically, I feel like the Profaned Flame going nuts and killing everybody. This is kind of cool to watch. It's cinematic, right? GG. The Profaned Flame going off and killing everybody. I feel like that was basically like, hey, you sinned. Guess what? Your shit gets fucked up now. You guys were too greedy. You wanted too much. You wanted a flame that never fades. And this is what you get instead. There we find Sigurd waiting to be rescued one last time so that he can go fulfill his duty. Let's drop. There we go. Make sure the host knows to come in here. Man, poor Yorm, dude. Best friend has to put him down because he's lost his fucking mind and he doesn't want to go back to that stupid fucking throne. But with friends like Sigurd, man. Yeah, sorry, this is nice little moment. Yeah, I really feel like this place basically is the way it is because these people were so selfish and they were so greedy, and they wanted a flame that wouldn't die, and they got one, and it killed them all, which is pretty poetic, pretty fitting. This is a really great place. I read all the time people complain about it, and they're like, oh, it's not fleshed out enough. I feel like it really is fleshed out enough. We just need like one or two items to really just clue us in, fill in some of the gaps that we can't fix. We're almost there. Come on. We don't have time to waste. She's waiting on me. So one of the items that we get tells us that the Profaned Capital, Irithyll Dungeon, was built to house a giant. I'm assuming it's talking about this giant here, although I guess it could be referring to Yorm. But, I mean, we find a giant, like, literally right here, and he's having his feet eaten away at him for all of eternity. You guys could see Sigurd. I was going to show the host, but no one wants to stick around with these fucking non-stop rats. One thing that's curious is we have the million billion rats spawn right there. We find Gilligan, is that his name, from Dark Souls 2, the Ladder Smith. That's a couple of callbacks to the pit in Majula. Yeah, I won't go much farther than that, but that's kind of curious, right? Kind of curious. That sewer grate that we just ran through looks like it was blown out from the inside, like something made its way out, or maybe the giant could have just broken it, grabbed it, and pulled it out. Who knows? Oh, we're almost there. We're home free. We've done it. This has been like the most gracious invaded host I think I've met in a long time. So here's Carla, the one Alva was seeking, the spurned. We'll give him a thank you carving. We'll drop him an ember too, like you just completed a little side quest. And that'll do it for us today, guys. So this invasion just kind of happened, and I built the entire video around it afterwards. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was just something different and cool. I'll see you guys next time. Later.